everyone, welcome to our episode 5 of Pure Code. And in our previous lesson, we looked at a walkthrough of the project that we had created in our previous episode. We looked at what every file, what to find in each file. And in today's video, before we start running this project even in the first place, we just want to look at Docker and talk about Docker. So Docker is one of those concepts that most developers are scared of. I think it's just because when you start using Docker, it is a point that you have almost crossed and you feel like you are a senior developer. Like even if someone tells you a lot of stories about their coding journey and they say that they have never used Docker, it tells you the level of that developer. And in my opinion, every developer who wants to cross to become intermediate or even a senior, at least you need to try and use Docker. And the problem is, it is not only machine demanding, it demands a lot of resources, but it's a scary concept that most developers find to tackle. And in today's video, we're going to break down Docker. Why do you need Docker? In fact, you can actually run Git. By default, it expects you to have Docker because we know that Git projects cannot be deployed on Vercel. We know they are going to be deployed on a VPS, EC2, or any other place that supports Docker is the good place. And in fact, when you understand Docker, you understand why it is important that everyone or every project should have Docker, okay? So in today's video, we are going to go ahead and break down Docker and so that you can understand it. So we're going to look at what Docker is, how Git uses it, how to run Git without it, and the commands you actually need to run. And you don't even to cram, I think, a lot of commands. There are very few commands you are going to run for Docker, and everything is going to be good. So before we boot the dev servers, let's deal with the elephant in the room. Docker, most people get the Docker compose app command in the next lesson and store because nobody actually told them what Docker is. So in this lesson, we're going to go ahead and cover what Docker is, why it exists, how Git uses it. So let's start with the problem Docker solves. So software has dependencies. What it means, we install packages from other people and everything. So your app needs Postgres v16, Redis v7, a specific version of Node, a specific Go toolchain. So on your laptop, everything works. You hand the project to your teammate, and their Postgres is version 14. Migrations fail. You deploy to a server, it's Redis missing a feature. You spend a week chasing work on my machine bugs. Like, this is a typical problem that me personally have experienced. You give a project, they download it on their machine, they run dependencies, and something is not working. And the fix is Docker. So Docker fixes this by bundling each piece of the software with its exact environment into a container. A lightweight, self-contained box. As you can see here, a self-contained box with all the tools that are needed for that project. So Postgres 16 in a container behaves identical on Mac, your teammate's Windows machine, and the production Linux server. In fact, the turning point of a person who doesn't use Docker is VPS. So when you start actually buying a VPS and trying to deploy your first app, this is typically you're going to run into so many problems that you actually look for a solution, and the solution is going to be Docker. Like, if you have never wanted to use Docker, try to host your project on a VPS without using Docker. You are going to meet a lot of problems deploying that project. And that's going to be a turning point why you need to learn Docker. Okay? So hoping that we now need to learn Docker and everyone agrees that we need Docker, let's move on and cover the 3 concepts that actually you need about Docker. Docker has 3 things. It has image. So this is a read-only template. For example, Postgres 16 is an image, you download it once. Okay? So when you run this this project, this image, it becomes a container. So a container is just like a running instance of an image. So if you want to understand this, it's just like, let's say you actually go ahead and install downloaded like VLC. Let's say this is a video player. You download VLC or you download Google Chrome. So you haven't installed, you haven't run it. At this point, when you install it and you have it, let me see if I have any software like on my machine. I don't think I have a folder. Okay, I have like some software here. Let's say, let me just show you here. We have like, this is Brave browser. Okay, so this you're seeing here, this is what you call an image. Like, if you have a software, it is packaged very well and it is not running. Even you say I have Docker here, I have Casa. So if you have like a software like this one, it is not running, that is an image. Okay, and those people who install Windows, we all know, actually normally call it an image. So it's just like a read-only template, just like that. Software, I've just downloaded it and it is not running. When you install Docker or you install the video player and now it is actually installed and it is running on your machine, it becomes a container. So a container is a running instance of an image. So you can have many containers from the same image. That is a good thing. Apart from like this normal software where you install once, the container, it can come one, you can have two containers running from one image. Okay, and this is because you can have 2 apps or 3 apps running on your machine and they are all running using different containers. Then volume is actually the data. Okay, so you can see a named persistent disk attached to the container. So whatever data is saved in this container is going to be saved in a volume. Okay, so that's why these volumes, when you keep on running, installing, adding things, you said they're expanding and becoming bigger and bigger. Okay, so I think these 3 things, let me hope you have understood them. Let's move on. So how do you install Docker? Is by just going and install Docker desktop, and you're using most special Windows. Go ahead and install this Docker desktop, and you guys, you can see here, there is download Docker desktop. There is for Mac OS, and for Windows it's the same. For Linux, you already have it, so you just use it to configure. So use Docker engine. It just doesn't have the GUI like the one of Docker desktop. It simply has a daemon that runs in the background. Okay, yeah. So after you have installed this, it's just like a normal software, like the way you download VLC or the way you download any software. It is as simple as that. Just go ahead and download it for Windows here. Go ahead and download and just like install next, and then install it. It's going to be installed. And actually after that, I can just say bash. So you can open bash here and just see if I have it. So you can just say Docker. Docker, do I just say version or just like Docker version? So you can see here, if you say Docker -- version, you said we have Docker 28.11. So you can just go ahead and check which version you have on your machine. I have Docker and I even pinned it here so that I can easily start it. I think after you have installed it, it is easy that you pin it on the, how do they call this? The taskbar. Yeah, you can just go ahead and right click on it, pin it on the taskbar here. Okay, that would be really great and easy for us to spin it. So how does Grit uses Docker? So Grit's Docker compose file describe the 4 services your app depends on locally: the Postgres, the Redis, and these other dependencies. So if you just go to Docker compose, so you can just say Control P, and I just look for the Docker compose file here. And as you can see, it has the images for the Postgres, and it also defines the volume for it. So this is the first one, the Postgres image. And if you check one, we have Redis. So we have also the Redis image. And then you check, we have the Minio image here. And then finally, you also have the mail hog image. Okay, I do not want to run anything right now. Control C. Okay. Here, terminal. Don't run anything right now. By the way, they had this run service, so you can easily run that from there. Yeah, so yeah, this is how we use it in here to spin up Postgres, so you don't have to go and look for Postgres or Redis or even file storage. Everything can work on the production. So Mailhog, remember, this is a fake like mail UI. Why it can, when you send emails, it just actually receives them and you see them. When you send like OTP and everything, it actually gives you the UI while you log in and can see that. And the same thing with Minio. In production, me personally, I always use, I keep Postgres and Redis. And then for Minio, I replace it with R2. And then for Mailhog, I replace it with Recent. And we're going to see that it is also configured actually already. So Docker Compose up boots all the 4 in the background. Docker Compose down stops them. These are like the 2 commands that you need to understand only. Like when you want to start all the services or to run with Docker, you simply use Docker Compose up. When you want to stop them, like after you have worked on the project, then you use Docker Compose down. As simple as that. So these are like the common commands that we are going to be using, like Docker Compose up, and then Docker Compose down, and these other ones. Okay. So the errors that you might see, they cannot connect to the Docker daemon. So it means that it isn't running. The daemon hasn't started. Like when you try to run Docker Compose up, when you have not started the Docker engine here, then it's going to give you issues. The import is already allocated. So I added these instances. Some of these ones I used to run them when I started using Docker. That's why I added this list on how to fix them. Okay, you have all the things. They talk about the issue and how you can fix it. Okay, so you can just go ahead and go through all these ones. Running Git without Docker. So just in case your machine cannot install Docker at all, okay, because you can just say machine requirements for Docker, just like this. You can just like type in something like this, okay, and then you will just like have, they will just tell you what do you need. Storage, like 6 GB of storage is minimum. So like this is very easy to attain. Like Docker is not really that now machine machine resourceful, but of course what makes it hard is running it for a very long time while you accumulate a lot of things. Okay, so just make sure you just install Docker, and if everything is good, then we're going to go ahead. But you can run actually Git without Docker. So you don't actually need Docker to use Git. So you can get a Postgres database, because what this basically does is to run this for us, is to run these containers, Postgres for us, to run Redis for us, and all that. But if you can actually get them, because you see that after running them their site, we come and connect them in the env. So you can see we are tapping 5432. This is the same in the the Docker Compose here. This is the one, normally this one actually. This one is what we are targeting in here in the env. So if you have your own Postgres instances, you can just go to Neon and get a Postgres database URL and add it there. Or you can even just run on SQLite. So you can just go ahead and just say here where we have the database, you comment this one and comment SQLite. It's going to run. Okay. Then another thing is the Redis. So instead of using this Redis URL here, you can just go actually on get a Redis instance from actually I added here the recommendation here. Postgres, you can use Neon. Redis, you can use Upstash, and you will get just the database URL from Postgres, the Neon. Upstash, you also get the Redis URL, and R2, you get all these other ones, and even Recent. So that means that you can actually run the whole entire thing without actually using Docker. Okay, you can stop this Docker by just simply going and replacing all these ones with the third-party URLs. Okay, but of course we recommend you to use Docker. But if you cannot, like your machine cannot, then just go ahead and get these from third parties, fill them in, and you are good to go. Then why should you learn Docker? We talked about these ones, the speed of onboarding new team members and all other things, reproductivity, more especially in the production environment. This is the most interesting one, this one. Because if you don't have Docker, when you're going to deploy this in any platform, you're going to have issues deploying it. Okay, the quick check, you ran Docker compose down last night. This morning, you ran Docker compose up D and database is empty. What happened? This is a very common scenario, by the way. Like you be testing your app, everything is running. So the next day, you come and open and all users are gone, all data is gone. So what happened? Here, the first one, Docker corrupted data. You ran Docker compose down -v instead of plain Docker down here. The v flag wipes named volumes where Postgres stored the data. So this is of course the correct answer. When you do run Docker, in the Docker commands I added in here, you can see there is the one which is Docker compose down -v. This stops and wipes all the data that is saved on those containers. So be careful. If you still want to use the data, don't run this -v because this stops and also wipes all the container, the volumes. And volumes is what data is kept. So don't do that if you don't want to. So that is the quick check. So you can also try what they gave us. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this lesson.